to the African Union headquarters in the Ethiopian capital of Addis Ababa, where the meeting of foreign ministers at the African Union summit is continuing this morning. Most of the sessions expected to take place behind closed doors, with several pressing matters at hand, of course. The theme for this year's gathering is justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparations. Ziyanda Ngcobo is there and joins me live now. Ziyanda, the question marks will certainly be around the Democratic Republic of Congo and the war in the area then as well, and in the country, and certainly question marks around whether Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, as well as his Congolese counterpart there, Mr. Felix Tshisekedi, will indeed be meeting in private.
Well, yes, tomorrow we anticipate that there's going to be a high-level meeting where our President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to meet Rwanda's President Paul Kagame. In fact, it will be the first time that they see each other at close range after, of course, you know, that meeting that took place in Tanzania where the East African community and the SADC region met to discuss this very issue of the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. So it's going to be interesting then, you know, even just the body language and the tone of the two leaders when they meet on the sidelines of the 38th AU summit here in Addis Ababa. But I want to bring in now Botswana's International Relations Minister, Dr. Phenyo Butale, to talk about, you know, SADC issues. I know the meetings are still continuing behind closed doors, so thank you for speaking to us. Perhaps then let's start off with this issue of the Eastern DRC and Botswana's stance. I mean, do you think the meeting that took place, I think last weekend, was productive between the two communities, or, as I've heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you know, both Felix Tshisekedi and Kagame are wanting different mediators and no longer want the SADC region?
Well, I think the meeting was successful. You would remember that this meeting comes after an extraordinary summit of the SADC that was held in Harare, at which it was agreed that it's important for the two blocs to meet and, you know, speak and find a way forward on this matter. You know, we as Botswana, we have always insisted that we believe that there has to be peaceful resolution to conflict. We have stated as a new government that we are adopting a human-centric approach to foreign policy, and therefore that means that we want that there should be dialogue all the time, that we should silence guns, and that is the reason why we were amongst those who spoke and said there has to be an immediate ceasefire, and all parties to the conflict must be called to the table, and because it's only then that we have a chance at finding a lasting solution.
Let's bring it back here to the African Union and the discussions and the various elections that took place yesterday. And we understand at this point that in terms of the Peace and Security Council, Eswatini also took that position, took one of the SADC positions on that 15-member Peace and Security Council. Let's talk about the support that Botswana and the SADC region would need to give Eswatini as they take on this role, and the vision from this particular bloc as they take on this endeavor.
Yes, I must also state that the SADC region has demonstrated that we are very organized. We have met beforehand to discuss all positions, and we submitted only one candidature in every position. We saw South African lady being voted successfully to be Commissioner for Infrastructure. We saw a Commissioner from Eswatini, Mr. Vilakati. From South Africa is Ms. Matabohe. So they are now commissioners of the AU because we spoke and agreed that on the basis of our agreed principle of rotation, it was the turn of those two countries to submit their names. So for the Peace and Security Council, Eswatini also got that opportunity through that same arrangement. And we believe that because there are other countries like Botswana in the Peace and Security Council right now, and we believe that because we are a team, we work together, we negotiate, we caucus, and we adopt positions together. Eswatini will not be alone in that Peace and Security Council.
I mean, you know, the AU Peace and Security Council, for all intents and purposes, or to explain it, is similar to the UN Security Council, meant to resolve conflict on the continent. And we're seeing a lot of, crises in all corners of the continent, north, south, east, and west. Just in Mozambique, in Cabo Delgado, yes, it's a low-intensity warfare right now, but it is still continuing. How concerned are you as Botswana and in the larger collective of the SADC region about these conflicts spilling over and causing turmoil on the continent against the backdrop of, a superpower like the US that seems to be flexing its muscle, some would say, in a negative way?
Well, the saving grace is that multilateralism is so entrenched that there will not be any country that may succeed in doing anything on its own. We are intertwined, we are interdependent, and we believe strongly as Botswana that multilateralism will always win. And as SADC, we believe that our region will continue to go strong in terms of, looking at these issues together and finding solutions together. It's worrisome that the region has seen such turmoil. Mozambique, as you have rightfully said, we just left our mission just concluded there, where Botswana had contributed troops. We have a mission in DRC where Botswana may not be a troop contributing country, but we are there, and we are one of those countries that after we agree on contributions in terms of monetary contributions, we are always the first to do it because we take this responsibility very serious. We are worried, but we are optimistic that dialogue will win the day at the end of it all.
Some would argue, however, Dr. Butale, that multilateralism is not winning right now. In fact, there's a lot of fragmentation, not just with the AU, but even with the United Nations, and the belief that international law is actually being applied according to what has been agreed on. What do you say as Botswana about this, and in particular making sure that at least the SADC region doesn't fall into that trap?
Yes, the SADC region is very united. I think even the way we have managed to agree on candidates, and the fact that we had consensus, the fact that we managed to agree that there is a principle that we have always adopted, I think for me it shows that we are united. I think what then needs to happen is for us to find creative, innovative ways of ensuring that there is continuous entrenching of democracy and democratic ideals. As Botswana, we just emerged from elections in October, and we saw a historic exchange of power after 58 years of one party dominating the political space. But the exchange of power was seamless, was peaceful. We believe that we have a story to tell. We can share something with our colleagues in the region, just so that we all understand that at the end of the day, the will of the people must always be respected.
All right, that's Dr. Phenyo Butale. He is the International Relations Minister in Botswana, talking about a united SADC region, judging from just how the election during the commissions and for the peace and security positions went about. Eswatini winning twice. They're on the Peace and Security Council. They've also got one of their members getting a commission, South Africa as well, attaining a position on the Infrastructure and Energy Commission. So it's quite a successful summit so far, insofar as the SADC region is concerned, and you would have heard as well his reflections on what is currently taking place in the Eastern DRC. As I've mentioned, tomorrow, Arabile, there will be a high-level meeting on this issue of the Eastern DRC and how it goes forward. So I know that back home we anticipate the repatriation, and you would have heard Dr. Butale talking about how they are contributing towards that mission, but albeit not with their troops. So I wonder then whether or not this call that's been made back home to bring back our troops, whether that will land, or if there is still an intention to push ahead and keep our soldiers on the ground in the Eastern DRC.
Ziyanda, this is possibly the most eagerly anticipated and eagerly watched African Union summits. We're thankful to, of course, have you there with your reporting. But just as an aside, Ziyanda, I wanted to also ask you if you've gotten a chance to now finally try out the cuisine out of Ethiopia, and not just perhaps some Western cuisine, shall we say. Have you had the chance now?
Not quite. We're quite busy here at the headquarters. And I mean, you know, as the media, there's a lot of hanging around and a lot of nervousness from the leaders. They're not really keen to talk to the media until things are finalized. It's a lot of bartering, negotiation, back and forth caucusing that's taking place. So I'm busy watching that and not quite having a moment to enjoy the Ethiopian cuisine just yet.
We'll certainly be watching. Thank you so much for that reporting. Our very own Ziyanda Ngcobo. They're out in Addis Ababa there in Ethiopia for the 38th African Union Summit. Certainly one that is eagerly watched.